I have booked 7 Airbnbs over this past year, and yes, 2 of them did turn out to be scams, but I could have easily avoided those if I knew the warning signs to look for. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and I am a digital nomad. I live in places for 1 to 6 months at a time and often abroad in other countries. Airbnb has been the best way for me to book places to live. Being able to pay my rent with a credit card eliminates issues with different currencies and not having access to payment apps like Venmo. The other benefit is that their support has been absolutely fantastic, and I was able to get a full refund in the event of running into a scam, which actually happened to me twice last year. I wanted to share both these stories with y'all, as well as the now obvious to me red flags that I just marched right on by at the time, to hopefully help other people avoid ending up in a similar type of situation. It's just not fun to have to scramble to find somewhere to live at the last minute. 0 out of 10, do not recommend it. And I'm going to be very vague on the details for both the properties and the hosts because I don't want to dox anybody, and both of these listings have been removed from the platform anyways. However, while I was reviewing my old messages in preparation for this video, I noticed that while one scammer has been completely removed from the platform, the other one is still going strong with multiple listings and multiple complaints of the exact same scam that they tried to pull on me. So good for them, I guess. Anyways, let's have some story time. So the first scam was classic bait and switch. And I have to take some responsibility here. Looking back, there were definitely signs that this listing was less than legit, but I was naive and I was really excited about staying in the property, so I just kind of ignored them, and I shouldn't have. So what happened? Well, we booked a condo in an area that we were very familiar with and we'd stayed in before, the area, not the specific listing. And we were really excited to find this listing because we could tell from the photos that it was this very specific building, and we thought it was the nicest building in the area. It was on the pricier side, but we were willing to pay extra for this specific building because it's in a fantastic location and has really great amenities. So we were like, yay, and paid our first month's rent, and then that was it for a while because we weren't moving in for several months. Now, for safety reasons, they don't give you the exact address of the building until your booking is confirmed, and they also don't send you your exact move-in details, including the condo number or apartment number, until a couple of days before move-in. So to be fair, the host didn't bald-faced lie about which building it was in the description or anything like that. But as I mentioned, we were really familiar with the area. We were actually already living there, and we knew which building it was based on the pictures. The first red flag was after our booking was confirmed and we got the address, it was for a parking garage that is on that same street, like very close by, but it's a parking garage, it's not the building. And okay, that's kind of odd, but I do know that parking in that area is difficult to come by, it's pretty expensive, so I just thought, well, maybe this unit doesn't come with a parking stall, so they suggest people park there instead, and that's where they need to go first before checking in. I don't drive, so this is not a problem for me. However, I definitely should have asked about that. I should have brought that up. The second red flag, which is maybe more of a yellow flag, was that the host's name appeared to be misspelled. Now, it could have just been a typo, maybe they just have a quirky spelling of their name, but it was weird. I just really wanted to stay in this place, so I just told myself that it was probably fine and it was probably nothing. Third red flag, there was 2 different kitchens pictured on this listing. Now, I know that sometimes the hosts are actually property management companies that have a bunch of different listings on the platform, and this one was in a very popular tourist destination, so I could absolutely see that being the case. And I could also see somebody just accidentally uploading the wrong picture to the wrong listing. It could happen. And then the fourth red flag, before everything really went sideways, was that the listing only had 1 review. Now, it was a newer listing and it was a positive review, but as I would come to find out, that's a warning sign. 2 days before I'm supposed to move in, I get a message from the host saying that there is a problem with the property and I need to call their assistant at this number to sort it out. At this point, I'm finally starting to admit to myself that something feels off here. Airbnb does discourage communication that is done off the platform because then there is no record of it that they have access to. But I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, so I called the number. First of all, I was surprised to see that that number was already saved in my phone as the number of the wife of the host of the property that I had just been renting. When I first arrived, they advised me that I needed to call her to get my keys and be let into the building. And she did, and that one was straightforward. So I'd already been in the area for 3 months. I had checked out of the previous rental a few days ago, and I was currently staying in a hotel as I'd had a gap of a few days between the rentals. So I was definitely surprised to see this woman pop up again, but who knows? Maybe she's the hottest property manager in the area. Maybe she's the go-to person that everybody wants to work with. So I call, she answers, clearly doesn't remember that I've already been a tenant of hers, and she tells me that she's very sorry, but the people who had stayed in the condo previously had had a massive party and had damaged it beyond repair, so there was no possible way that we could stay there. And this was for another 3-month booking, by the way. We weren't just staying for a week. I guess the party activities had included tearing down all of the drywall and ripping out all of the plumbing. But not to worry, she had another rental that was basically the same that we could stay in. Here's a dramatic reenactment of how that conversation ensued. Hi, yeah, no, sorry, it's just damaged beyond repair. It's in really bad shape, but I've got another place you guys can go to. Okay, well, can I come view the alternate unit? I'm already in the area. This is Lisa. I was staying in your husband's rental at the past 3 months. Oh, no, I don't have time to do that today. I guess I could text you some pictures and a video though, if you want. Okay, well, I'm gonna need those really quickly though, as well as the address of the replacement because I might need to find somewhere else to stay. You wanna cancel your booking? Well, maybe, it depends on the other unit. The photos on the listing made it clear that that one was the building, so if it's not on par with that, I don't want to pay that price. If the listing's just not available anymore, then I am eligible for a refund. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you could ask for a refund. Yeah. She then took several hours to send me the address and the pictures and the video. I'm guessing she didn't actually have them and she had to go take them. It's funny how she had time to do that, but not to show me the unit. The replacement condo was nice enough, but it was located pretty far from where the original listing was. The view was of the parking garage across the street instead of the ocean, and the building had no amenities at all. It wasn't worth even close to what we'd paid for the original one. Yeah, it's gonna be a no for me, Doug. I'm guessing that the scammers wait until the last minute to switch the rental out on you because they're expecting that it'll be too late for you to change your flight or find somewhere else to live. Especially in this area, most people are just coming for a vacation for a week or two rather than living there for a couple months. And to be honest, I did have to leave and go somewhere else entirely. It was the middle of high season in that area, so there was just nothing good available. But I am also lucky that I can be very flexible because I'm a digital nomad. I think she was actually shocked that I canceled, and she was now down 3 or maybe even more months of rent. Airbnb took the listing down at that point because it was, in her own words, damaged beyond repair and unlivable. You know, if she just straight up rented the other property at a fair price instead of all this subterfuge, she could have definitely filled it. Heck, I would have considered it. There was nothing wrong with the property. I just didn't want to pay that much for it. Also, I wasn't really keen on dealing any further with someone who was clearly not being honest. You know who was great to deal with though? Airbnb support. They took me seriously, reached out to the host right away to get their side of things, and got back to me very quickly with a resolution. It was too late for me to cancel the reservation myself, but since the host was in violation of policy, Airbnb canceled it for me and gave me a full refund. That's key. If you ever find yourself in this situation, never cancel the reservation yourself. If it's past the refund period and you cancel, then Airbnb can't help you. Anyways, that's what happened, but what have I learned? Number 1, if anything looks off, it probably is. The 2 kitchens pictured, the address being a parking garage at the very least, I should have asked the host about these things. If your gut is telling you that something's off, listen to it and don't get blinded by pictures of amazing ocean views from a high floor in a building with an infinity pool and an outdoor gym. The HOA fees on that place must be wild. The owner having a weirdly spelled name could be a flag, or it could be an awkward situation if you bring it up and that's just how they spell their name. In hindsight, though, I'm pretty sure that was just one of many pseudonyms that this woman was using, but you can't really know that ahead of time. Number 2 is you need to read reviews. And if there's only 1 or 2 reviews for a listing, that's a warning sign. Those are pretty easy to fake. Also, read all of the reviews for the host, not just the ones on that specific listing. In the aftermath, I looked into it, and this host had several complaints where their assistant had switched out the rental on people at the last minute due to the original one being damaged. What a coincidence. Is this just the world's most unlucky host? Some people were pissed about it because the replacement sucked, and some people were happy that they had kindly offered an alternative because then they didn't have to cancel their vacation. You do need to take reviews with a grain of salt. I've worked in customer service before, and some people are just unreasonable and entitled. But if you see the same complaints come up over and over again, that's a pattern. So that was scam number 1. Let's talk about scam number 2. This one was less dramatic, but still frustrating to deal with, and Taylor Swift didn't help things any. I'll explain. On the surface, the listing looked pretty nice. The host had a normal name, and there was only 1 kitchen pictured. But, and this should have stood out to me given my previous experience, there was only 1 review, although it was a good one. After my booking was confirmed, I sent a little introductory message about me and my partner and said that we were really looking forward to staying in the condo. No response and no red receipt. Kind of odd, but maybe they were busy. Our booking wasn't for a couple of weeks, so fair enough. As the move-in date approached, I still hadn't heard a peep out of this house, and I was finally starting to develop some spidey sense of when something isn't right with one of these listings. I looked through the host reviews for all of their properties, and I saw that she was slow to respond to messages, which many guests found frustrating. However, I also spotted something else that was very concerning. Several reviews mentioned that they were blindsided by the fact that they had to pay an additional, supposedly refundable bond payment, which is kind of like a damage deposit. This had to be done through a platform outside of Airbnb before they were given their move-in instructions or their keys. This didn't sound right, and it didn't sound like something that would be allowed through Airbnb. Even worse, several people reported that they never got their deposit back despite leaving the place in the exact condition that they found it in. There were also plenty of complaints about units not having any dishes, no cups, broken blinds, broken AC, not having been cleaned properly. Just overall not painting a great picture, but I was most concerned about this bond payment. I did a deep dive into the Airbnb policies, and it actually is allowed, but only if they disclose this fact to you prior to booking. I combed through the listing, but I couldn't see anything about it. Then I checked the house rules. This is a link that you have to click on to open a separate window that is not visible by default. At the very bottom of that section, in the tiniest font possible, was a note that you were required to pay a $400 bond in order to get your keys. I was not feeling great about this, but I figured live and learn. She did technically follow the rules, and it was too late for me to get a full refund. I would likely never get that $400 back either, but oh well, it's just money, I can make more, right? If the unit hadn't been cleaned properly, I could do it. If there were no cups or dishes, I could get some from the charity shop. If the AC wasn't working, well, actually that would be a problem because it was summertime in a very hot place. So I just crossed my fingers and hoped that wouldn't come up. At 24 hours to move in, I still hadn't gotten any response from the host, and all of my messages were unread. There was a phone number on their profile, which I called, not in service. I started shortlisting alternatives as it looked like this was not going to happen. I get to 11 a.m. on the day I'm supposed to move in at 1 p.m. and I still haven't heard a single thing from this house. I have a building address, but I don't know what floor the unit's on. I don't know what unit number it is. I don't know how to access the building. I have no keys. I have nothing, essentially. So I contact Airbnb support and let them know what's going on. A very nice young man told me that he would attempt to get in touch with the host for me and call me back. In the meantime, I started aggressively shortlisting alternative apartments, and many of them weren't available for a few days, so I was also looking for hotels to cover the gap. However, Taylor Swift was playing in the city for the next couple of nights, so there was not very much available. The nice young man called me back just before 1 p.m. and told me that they had also been completely unable to reach the host, so they were canceling my reservation and providing me with the full refund. Great, but now I had to find somewhere else to stay, and Tay-Tay was making that a challenge. He did ask if I wanted help finding a replacement, but I told him I would handle it. I did find somewhere else to live for that month. It wouldn't have been my first choice, but it was totally fine, and the host actually gave me such a nice review after I moved out. It wasn't available right away, so I also had to stay in a hotel that was absolutely infested with crickets for a week. I killed all of the ones in our room, but I couldn't do anything about the one in the air vent that had a penchant for chirping very loudly at 4 in the morning. But the Thai restaurant downstairs was excellent, so there were good things too. So, what did this experience teach me? Well, it kind of re-taught me several things that I probably should have learned after the first scam listing, but apparently hadn't internalized just yet. To review, number 1, beware of listings that only have 1 review. Those are very easy to fake. Actually, after I had booked, another review popped up on the listing saying that the condo had been damaged and so they had had to move to another unit. That old chestnut. They had asked for a refund, which the host had agreed to, but then never provided. Surprising. But they'd made the mistake of canceling the reservation themselves. Always get AirBNB to cancel the reservation for you. Number 2, and the lesson that has helped me the most since then, is to read the reviews that the host has for all of their listings, not just the one that you're looking to book. This host had mostly bad reviews. The happy people were the exception, and honestly probably fake. On the listing, if you scroll down to the Meet Your Host section and click on the number of reviews next to their name, it'll bring up all the reviews that they have. In my experience, if most of the reviews are negative and start out with, "I never leave negative reviews, but," you're gonna have a bad time if you book one of their places. Now, all of this isn't meant to say that Airbnb is just full of scams and you should avoid it. I am actually so grateful that I used Airbnb to book and pay. If I had made arrangements privately and sent these scammers money via PayPal or something like that, I don't think I would have been able to recover it. I have booked 7 Airbnbs over this past year, and yes, 2 of them did turn out to be scams, but I could have easily avoided those if I knew the warning signs to look for. I'm in an Airbnb right now. It's lovely, and the owner has been a delight to deal with because I know the red flags to avoid, and now you do too. If you have any questions about being a digital nomad or have something on Airbnb that you think might be sketchy and you want me to take a look at, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.